And when it's weaved in like that, when you really like take the time to weave it in and like relate it to other things you know, that's when it just instantly comes, because you already related it. You already put in the work while you were listening, while you were just the first pass. You can easily grab it, as opposed to just having the information as is and you're not engaging in it. You forget super easily. Just because you have patterns of procrastination or not concentrating, don't let that be your identity, because everyone can grow. Everyone can start from zero. I always thought I was kind of good at math, but I never really understood why, because I think my brain trained itself to be active while in class. That's not because I'm smart. It's not because I was gifted. It's because I kind of trained my brain in a way where it can relate math patterns in a way that makes sense to me. Hey, it's Steph. So glad to be back with another topic about retaining information. I just thought this is just such an important skill to have. I think retaining information, yes, it is great for studying because you want to ace that test. You want to be that it girl or it guy, and you want to get good grades, but this also applies to so many other things in life. Do you want to have better relationships? Like, if you're actively retaining information from conversations you've had with friends, you can bring it up the next time and talk to them, and then they'll be like, wow, they remembered this fact about me. They really care about me. Another way that this can be really useful is that if you're a work person, like if you're working full-time right now at a job or part-time, if you do better work, if you absorb those kind of information better, you're able to learn on the spot like new skills and requirements that you need to do the job. You're able to quickly prove that you have more value to your workplace, to your boss, to your manager, because they already see that you do good work and they value you. When you do ask for that raise, they'll be like, yes. I guess with studying, to go more in detail, like the reason why retaining information can be so useful is because there's a lot of people who just kind of memorize the information, but they don't really retain it for longer periods of time. There's a YouTuber who goes into a lot of depth about this. I forgot his name, but I'll definitely link him. So if you really want to go into the details, all the specific terms and all of that in the studying context, definitely check his channel out. But I'm just kind of go vaguely just about life, because I think retaining this kind of information is really useful in every aspect of life. I'm just gonna give an example of why you already have the skills to retain like information pretty well. Have you ever procrastinated? Are you the type to procrastinate? If you have put something to the last minute and you got your shit done the last like hour or so, right? Or however much time you need to take to do it, you gave yourself no option to take longer than that amount. You knew exactly how long it was like possible to get the task done. So you waited that exact amount of time to get it done, and then you gave your brain no option but to do it in that time. And that is you actively putting your brain into this kind of deep focus mode of just actively getting the work done and getting your shit together. That is one example that you're putting yourself in a place where you have to do that work. You have to do that deep work. You can also be doing that same thing and putting yourself in that kind of environment earlier on too. Like, you can also be actively training your brain to put it as a habit of doing that kind of deep work naturally. So in the same way you're putting yourself in the environment to study and procrastinate last minute, you can also put yourself in an environment to do the same thing where you're getting that kind of deep work done. That kind of work is like kind of like doing a PR, doing a personal record, or your highest weight at the gym or something. Or I don't know, if you don't go to the gym, like it's like doing, like trying to run your fastest mile. You know, like you're trying your hardest, you're really going for it, right? Your brain is like a muscle. Like, you have to train it to be able to do that kind of hard work. And if you do it more often, it becomes easier to do it. So quite literally, you can try to make it like habits in your life. Do it like in small increments of time, maybe, to put into that deep work. Schedule and block in those times where you can do those kind of deep work. I mean, it's easier said than done, because that kind of thing, that more applies to the example of maybe studying or maybe your work day, you can like schedule in that kind of time for yourself and like turn off any distraction, turn off your email temporarily for 30 minutes, turn off all your apps, like put your phone in a different room, put it on airplane mode, like all of those things. Okay, you can like put yourself in that. But then how does that apply to like actually retaining information and actually getting it done? Because it's easier said than done. You can do those things, but you can't, like, you still are jittery and you can't really do it. You have to do kind of like get yourself ready, like mentally, because I think it's like stretching. Like you're doing a warm-up before actually doing the deep work. Okay, so before you go and lift your heavy weights, you have to stretch so that you don't get injured. You have to like be really confident in yourself, and I think you have to gain confidence by really just hyping yourself up and releasing any kind of negativity. Because I feel like when we think about studying, we always associate this negative energy, and I think sometimes it can come from our friends like, oh, I have to get this shit done, and like blah blah blah, and you bad talk it. Okay, but like in reality, it's not so bad. I think oftentimes as students we kind of think like studying is the end of the world, but it is not. Like stop. Like, you're just being negative because you have nothing else negative to complain about in your life. But like, stop being negative for no reason. Okay, like studying is not that bad. It's actually kind of fun if you learn to love it. Throw that away. Throw away your negative thoughts surrounding that deep work. Okay, like I know it gets hard because no one wants to exercise your brain muscles because it is hard work. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy, okay? But like, it feels good afterwards because you know that you tried your best, you learned, and you put in the work. And the next time you do it, you're gonna have to like hype yourself up. You need to do these like training for your brain for you to like get hyped up about it. Okay, so put yourself in that mindset and put in positive energy now, positive thoughts about what you're doing. Let's give an example in terms of a social setting where you want to kind of retain information about your friend and be a good listener. What I tend to do, because I tend to retain a really good amount of information when I'm face-to-face talking to someone, I usually remember most of what we talked about. One thing I noticed about myself when I do this is because I'm so engaged in that place, I tend to see the good in people, and I tend to love people, and I try to exude that kind of energy and like have a love for anyone I meet. That's the kind of person I'm trying to be. I'm like actively thinking, like say they're talking, I ask about their sibling, or we're talking about siblings, and then they have like a older brother, and this is all in my head. Oh, okay, so they have an older brother. Sometimes their older brother is more protective over them, or they like to play with them, or like they like to like really annoy you, and like, so then I have all these like extra thoughts about surrounding it. I'm trying to weave them into my network of knowledge and try to put them in a pattern of like, oh, okay, they're kind of this kind of person, they're also kind of this person. Whenever they're bringing up a new information about themselves, I'm inserting them into like, oh, they're kind of like this. And then when I'm doing that, I have questions like, oh, so is your brother like this kind of person? Do you guys have these kind of interactions? And then I'm starting to ask questions, I'm starting to engage, because my brain is like really thinking. And also it's because I really care about this person. Like, you genuinely also have to care about the information that you're receiving. So if you kind of had an attitude, it's like, oh, studying, like I'm too cool for this, I'm too cool for school, I'm too cool to hang out with this person, you're kind of making this like world or your life about yourself, but really it's not. This world is kind of for you to engage and interact with in a way where you can learn new things about people and new information. So I think that's like an exciting thing, and we should get excited about that. We should care about all the types of information, no matter how negative a person is, no matter how bad of a person someone may seem on the outside, no matter how boring this information feel, there can always be some way that you can attach to your mind, and a new way you can learn about yourself, maybe like a new thing you can learn about yourself personally. And like having that kind of perspective about life, I think really helps you engage in the information and kind of weave that into your network of brain, your brain web, I guess. And when it's weaved in like that, when you really like take the time to weave it in and like relate it to other things you know, that's when it just instantly comes, because you already related it. You already put in the work while you were listening, while you were just the first pass. You can easily grab it, as opposed to just having the information as is and you're not engaging in it. You forget super easily. Like if you're just passively listening, you're like, okay, yeah, you did this, you did that, okay. Oh, like, yeah, y equals mx plus b, okay. Like if you actually care about the information, like, oh, y equals mx plus b, that's the slope of a line. Okay, like what do all those variables mean? What does m mean? Oh, it means like a slope. So this can also relate to like growth in different ways, like in data, like, oh, if the more hours you spend studying, the increase in y, you'll get a better grade or something like that. Like you relate it to things. Like math is not just symbols. Math represents the real world, okay? So you can relate it in that way. And the same thing for any other subject. Like the subject isn't just the subject. It relates to this world. That's why we're learning about it. That's why it's useful. Relate it to everything you know and actively engage it into your brainweb. So I think that's the first thing to do, is like engaging things in your brainweb, really weaving it in. And this takes work. Like your brain has to be thinking, it has to be asking questions, it has to be really, and like depending on the setting you're in, that you're trying to retain information, ask those questions right then and there. Like if you're in class and you're like trying to weave your brainweb, ask the question. Ask a clarifying question. It'll help someone else in the class. Like who cares? No one's gonna care if you're gonna ask a dumb question, okay? I think a lot of people don't ask questions because they think they're gonna look dumb. Like who the fuck cares? Like you're paying tuition, or I don't know, your parents are paying taxes for you to go to public school. There's a reason, there's an opportunity for you to learn, so take it. Take every opportunity you can. Live with no regrets. You can die tomorrow. No one's gonna be thinking about it the next day. Oh, dude, she asked that question. Do you remember that? Blah, blah, blah. No one cares. No one cares. Don't be ashamed to be passionate about something. Don't be ashamed or connect your identity for like in any way of being too cool to be learning something, too cool to be like trying hard. There's nothing wrong with trying hard, and just because you have patterns of procrastination or not concentrating, don't let that be your identity, because everyone can grow. Everyone can start from zero. Everyone can be at a place where they're not that good at something and then they can grow into something better, okay? Like I, for the longest time, had a huge hard time with writing, because I remember when I was in high school, my sister read my essay and she just like took a red marker and just like, it looked like it was bleeding red because of how much shit she had to say about my essay. She was like, yeah, you're so bad at this. And I was like, wow, I'm really terrible at this. And that made me like be really self-conscious about my writing for the longest time. So it would take me so long to write because I was scared that I was not good enough to put anything on the paper. That is the opposite thing you should do, okay? Like don't think that just because you feel like a certain way about something, that you're not good at something, means that you can't get better in it. Okay, think of everything as an opportunity. It's not your identity. Like there's no such thing as being bad at studying. There's no such thing as being bad at a subject. There's no such thing as that, because you're in school to learn. You're in work to learn new skills. That's why you're gaining experience. That's why there's a resume. It shows that you are gaining experience in that set amount of time. So like just because other people might seem to like be retaining better information, get that better grade, just because other people have a better network of friends or something like that, doesn't mean that you're behind in any way. Maybe you're just in a place where you're starting to learn how to be more engaged in certain situations and learn to retain that kind of information, because everyone starts from ground zero, okay? The huge chunk of that is just trying to be really engaged in weaving your web brain, okay? Like be curious, like be like engaged and think about it in a different way. Like be confident in yourself that you're gonna understand this information. Don't think of it as a whole like, oh, what is this weird symbol alien language going on right now? I think that's a lot what a lot of people think about, but it's not necessarily like that. It's because you kind of already have this preconceived notion about the subject that you kind of are not engaged in it. But you can always learn to be engaged. You can always learn to have those things. I think a great way of practicing like active engagement of information and trying to retain that information is just being able to talk with your friends in an engaged way. If you actively engage in that, it can really help you practice in other aspects, like in your studies as well. And like practicing that in your social settings is great because you just come off a lot more confident. Like if you're actively engaging and asking questions about other people, they're gonna love that. People love talking about themselves, and not only that, like if they love talking about themselves, they're gonna like talking to you because you're gonna be asking all these questions and trying to understand them in a certain way, and they're gonna like you more, and then they're gonna think that you really care, and the next time that you meet them, you're actually gonna remember everything that they said too. So now like after that, they're gonna be like, oh, like you're such a good person, I love this person who actually like likes talking about or likes to listen to what I have to say. They're gonna get you like your next job. They're gonna get you like, I don't know, like a discount. They're gonna be selling like a car and then you can buy it for cheaper just because they like you. Like people do that because they like you more. I'm not saying like you should try to do these things for those kind of benefits, but I'm just saying that those kind of things happen from you being like a better person. Like you're working on yourself, you're trying to do those things and be a better person, like good things are gonna happen to you. So I hope that was helpful. I'm not like a super genius or anything. I'm still working on trying to concentrate and retain information at a better rate, but everything takes time. You kind of need to slowly crawl into it because your brain needs to train. So obviously you need to start in small increments and practice slowly. Maybe start doing it in social settings first, and then kind of try to actively engage in that in your studies or your work area to increase your skills in that way. And I'm sure that there will be changes. There will be things that you remember more, and now you can have more time to do other fun things in your life instead of having to keep on worrying about how you have to study more. So see you next time.